Are you a Rastafarian?
Am I a Rastafarian?
Because I don't want to just stereotype and say
I identify as Ras, but I'd say more broadly I'm an African spiritualist.
Which group? House of Naya Bingi?
None of the above.
12 tribes?
None of the above.
None of the above?
No.
Really? So, which?
Yeah.
That now I'm confused. Which?
Okay, so I'm a born and raised member of an organization called the Al-Kebla Revivalist Movement.
Sorry?
Al-Kebla Revivalist Movement. Yeah, and basically we're a Pan-Africanist organization that deals with African spirituality and culture as well, politics, spirituality and culture. Yeah, on an equal footing. So as a result of that, I deal with African spirituality in its kind of broad and all-encompassing sense. So all of the authentic traditions of our people, yeah, that are indigenous to us, I embrace in some way, shape, or form.
Everything.
All of the spiritual traditions of our people that are indigenous, I embrace.
Literally all of them.
Yeah, I embrace them. I wouldn't say I'm knowledgeable about all of them. That's what I'm saying. But I do have an interest in all of them, and I study as much as I can. I would say that the spirituality or the spiritual schools of thought that I am most coherent with are Kemetic, Ifa of the Yoruba. What's the right way? Yeah.
Please continue, please.
Like Rastafari, and then like Shona spirituality, and others as well. Just what I'm saying. But the point is that the idea is that in African spirituality you have various expressions, but you generally find the same substantive basis. Yeah. For it. I am my family on my dad's side is from Jamaica, so Rastafari is a very deep in terms of its cultural influence, yeah, in terms of the liberty of Rastafari, and so the liberty of Rastafari has been significant to my upbringing, my culture, and also because of what Rastafari brought in terms of linking us back to our African selves, yeah, culturally, politically, and spiritually. That is the context in which I embrace Rastafari. So I am not Ras because of Psalms or the Bible or Solomon and Sheba. Just what I'm saying.
And not because of Haile Selassie.
It's impossible to have Rastafari without Haile Selassie. But not because I believe that Haile Selassie is God. You see what I'm saying? All African spirituality, all African spiritual traditions have ancestors, revered ancestors, and in some cases deified ancestors. I have no problem with the concept of His Majesty and the divinity of His Majesty. I draw the line when it comes to trying to make Haile Selassie Jesus Christ or God. But having said that, more fundamentally, my road into a lot of my spiritual outlook from a Rastafari perspective comes from the Marcus Garvey angle.
Okay, I see.
That's what I'm saying. So Marcus Garvey as a prophet and them kind of things there. You know what I mean?
Because the reason why I was trying to not scrutinize, but ask.
It's fine to scrutinize.
Because I mean, I'm from Africa, I'm Nigerian, Yoruba.
Right. Yes.
But there are certain things I've been finding out about other systems, like Trokosi. Have you heard of Trokosi?
Yes, I have. Yes.
And that's in Ghana,
yes.
Togo, and Benin.
Yes.
The system where they take the women.
Yes.
So that's why I'm always like, I always try to talk to people who love African spirituality and try and get them to pinpoint which one, because there are other forms of spirituality which are quite diabolical. In my opinion,
give me an example.
Oh well, there's in the countries of Malawi and Tanzania, you have a particular practice.
Sorry. So excuse, we can't move the camera.
In Tanzania, there's a particular system where they kidnap albinos.
Yeah, what, sorry?
They kidnap albinos and they chop off their limbs in order to use it for spirituality.
Now when I hear things like that, I always have to look at what is it about that. Not to say I sanction that activity.
Not all the spirituality in Tanzania.
No, I know you're not saying that. But when I hear things like that, I always have to look at what has brought that situation about. Because when we study our history, we've been through so much, And sometimes things are embedded into our culture as a result of either oppression or our responses to oppression. Yeah? What I mean by that is, from a basic example, if say for example your family experiences trauma, yeah, you can have manifestations of trauma that can be passed down generation after generation. Yeah? And so the generation that come after, they never necessarily experience the origin of where it comes from, but they're still living out the effects of it. You see what I'm saying? So when you hear something like kidnapping albinos, that generally doesn't come from nowhere. You see what I'm saying? It's not something that, and so if we're talking about Tanzania and them kind of places there, these places have old, long histories. I'm sure they weren't doing that from eternity, from time immemorial. You see what I'm saying? So
I'd like to believe that, yeah.
Right. So it suggests to me that came in at a certain particular point. I'm not familiar with what you're talking about, so I can't speak to it directly. I'm just saying that I'm careful about how I define it. So I wouldn't call it the people's culture or their spirituality unless I know enough about their indigenous spirituality to say that. Because what I'm looking at maybe is a response to whatever that community that people have experienced.
And it's only a minority, not all Tanzanians.
Right, you just what I'm saying.
Just
so
tiny.
So yeah. So it's like, but in that respect though, I think that for me, the broader thing for me is, as far as the spirituality of African people, indigenously, it is the most demonized, the most neglected, the most rejected, the most bad talked about set of spiritual ideals on planet Earth. And so this is the power in embracing it as a cohesion, yeah, or as a synthesis of expressions, because there's political power in that. You see what I'm saying? And the more I've studied the different spiritual systems, the more I find that there's so many areas of complementarity between them. Not that they're exactly the same, but there's complementarity, and I think we can see throughout our history examples of this, in the sense of the fact that communities live side by side and had different spiritualities, but they never went to war with each other over whose god is superior or not.
That's true.
You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not a feature of African history whereby people go to war because I worship Eledumare and you say Onyame. You know what I mean? It's not. Just what I'm saying. It's like, you know what I mean? You know?
That's actually an interesting point, because with the Abrahamic religions, the history is different.
It's a definitive aspect of that history, of Abrahamic history, that people go to war over their god. Just what I'm saying. So yeah. So, but either way, and why I say I embrace all, even if I choose a particular expression, let's say for example that I'm not I've never, there's not a strong Voodoo or voodoo community over here for one to engage in Voodoo and spirituality, yeah. But I embrace it. I study the spirituality. You know what I'm saying? But even though, let's say I've never been in a Voodoo ritual, I still embrace the philosophy, the practice, the rituals. You see what I'm saying? All right. I still study it. I still appreciate what it is. If I learn, for example, at the moment I've begun studying spiritual systems from Central Africa, the Congo region. Yeah, there's an organization called Vuvamu. Yeah, and they have prophets such as Kimpa Vita and Mfumo Kibango. Yeah, and these people. So I'm learning about that. Yeah, I've never practiced what they're dealing with. I've been in environments whereby they're teaching about it. You see what I'm saying? And so I learn and I embrace that. You know what I mean? So I don't necessarily have to know in intricately detail about the thing, but as an African and having an appreciation for the spiritual system that we've given to the world, I seek to learn about and embrace. You know what I mean? How that makes sense?
It does make sense. I'm just trying to. I find it fascinating what you said originally with the mixture of Rastafari.
Yes.
And you said Ifa.
Yeah,
How does that work? Because they're both quite different.
Why you say they're different?
Well, with Ifa you have various gods and goddesses. Oshun, Shango, Rastafari, you don't have different gods or goddesses.
Yeah. So most people's popular conception of Rastafari, I get why you would say that, simply because most people have a very Abrahamic what's the word? Interpretation. Yeah?
Most likely.
Yeah, of Rastafari.
So it's in
whereas I don't. Yeah. Okay. So in the sense of when people used to ask me if I'm Rast, I would say kind of, sort of. Now I say yes. Yeah. But I never used to say fully yes because I was raised African spiritualist, and many Rastas used to ban voodoo and obia, and I didn't. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When we look at Rastafari and its development, one of the most criminally undertow aspects of it is that it is born out of African spiritual retentions in the Caribbean. Yeah, so obviously when we were brought to the Caribbean, we brought our cultures with us. Yeah. Voodoo in Haiti, we know Haiti is right next to Jamaica. Kumina in Jamaica comes from Central Africa, and then many of us in Jamaica are from the Akan or Ashanti lineage. Yeah, so you find dominant expressions. I'm sure you must know that, like in the most dominant spiritual retention throughout the Caribbean is Ifa, yeah, that has developed into things like Candomblé and Santeria and them kind of things there. All right, so we have all these traditions, and so when you look at the rudiments and the liberty of Rastafari, all of it really comes out of the spiritual traditions that we kept and were evolving in the Caribbean. So the drumming, for example, Nyabingi drumming of Rastafari comes out of Kumina drumming. Kumina, as I said, is from Central Africa. Yeah, so Kumina is a faster drum pattern, generally speaking. You slow it down, you get Nyabingi. Yeah, but the Kumina drumming pattern, Kumina is a ritual of drum, song, and dance. Yeah, people used to channel spirit and them kind of things there. A lot of the founding fathers, and one of the major ones, Leonard Percival Howell, comes from St. Thomas. St. Thomas is known in Jamaica as the hotbed for what is called obia or mayo, yeah, which is again West African spiritual tradition, yeah. So they were all dealing with African spirituality on some level, shape or form, and so in my journey in Rastafari, that is the channel from which I come from. Yeah, so I don't read Bible and, you know what I'm saying, them kind of things there, just what I'm saying. But it's about tapping into what were the issues that the founding fathers of Rastafari were trying to solve at the time. And it was a sense of self. Africans knowing ourselves, knowing our culture. Yeah, being in tune with what it means to be who we are, and developing communities, nations that based upon that. That's what I'm saying. So there is no, and then where it most directly fits for me with Ifa is in and all African spirituality is in its nature-based orientation. Yeah. So nature-based. Yes. So if we look at Ifa and we have the Orisha, yeah, all of which represent principles of nature. Yeah. Rastafari is a nature-based, yeah, philosophy, yeah, and culture. So that's why we have terms like Aital. Aital meaning like it's like natural but gone. Like it's a totally natural living, yeah. So we're focusing on the earth.
Is that veganism?
All these things, yeah. Focusing on like plants, the earth, river, yeah. And
smoking of the herb.
Even I don't smoke personally, yeah. But all of these things, and you will find African spiritual traditions whereby herbs are used in certain particular ways. You just what I'm saying. So yeah, all these things are present. Now I would agree with the fact that. Popular expressions of Rastafari have been so Abrahamic that we've begun to neglect the African spiritual roots, yeah, the African spiritual expression. So instead of going deeper into the Kumina and the Mayo, yeah, and the Ifa and the Akan, we've gone deeper into the Bible, and start talking about some Hebrew Israelite, right? And you know what I mean, and Kebra Nagas, and which the Kebra Nagas has value as a book. I'm not denying the value of the Ethiopian line, yeah. But I'm saying, but we have to also understand that Ethiopian history has been colonized by the allegiance to the Solomonic dynasty, yeah, and the Solomonic lineage. So when you go to Ethiopia, what dominates in Ethiopia is the validation of the line of kings coming from Solomon, yeah. Whereas Ethiopia has a history that predates Solomon, is thousands of years older than Solomon, but that has been subverted somewhat for the sake of accentuating the Solomonic line, yeah. And so I'm interested in the Oromo people, you know what I'm saying, and the Tigray people, yeah, and the kind of things there, and then also the Kemetic, because it's Nile Valley we're dealing with at this point, right? So the Nile Valley history and culture, yeah, which many races in this day and age have begun to hold on to in terms of understanding the philosophy of Rastafari and the culture of Rastafari, because the deification of ancestors, the veneration of ancestors, and also the elevation of particular individuals or groups of individuals in our community that represent certain ideals is something that's deeply embedded in our history. So a lot of races look at, for example, in ancient Kemet, how the Nesubiti or the so-called Pharaoh was looked at as a representative of the creator on earth, yeah, which is the concept of Haile Selassie in effect, yeah. That's what I'm saying. But what Haile Selassie represented for I and I is, because of the history of Ethiopia, we know that the oldest.
What is I and I? I hear a lot of Rastafari.
I and I. So again, this is the beauty of the consciousness of Rastafari, yeah. I and I, there's no second person. Not like in English we say me and you. Me the first person, you are the second person. This is the I and I is the consciousness that there is no second person. There is I, and there is the I, who is also a part of I. In other words, we're one. It's another way of saying I am because we are, and since we are, therefore I am. It's another way of saying that I and I. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So we don't even say we. It's just I. This is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know. So it's just I. You know what I mean? But yeah, what that represented for a lot of people was a reconnection to a nation, because what Haile Selassie represented, yeah, to the early races was an independent African nation, yeah. All this stuff about Lion of David, this Jesus in the Christ in the flesh and all of something there comes later. What it really represented was an independent African nation, yeah, for people that were colonized under King George at the time, yeah, or England at the time. That's what it represented. And so redemption was not in just the individual, but in what the individual represented. Independence, freedom, Africa, yeah, our own culture, our own history. So now we don't have to rely, yeah, on the colonial structure to find a sense of self. We're looking now, that you directly say, we don't pledge allegiance to Britain and the king. Yeah, we pledge allegiance to Ethiopia and the king that's over there. It's a shift in the consciousness. That's what it represented at that time. That's what I'm saying. And so when you dig deeper into that, because we're dealing with Nile Valley, we're dealing with the history of the people, our origins as a people, but not only our origins, the origin of humanity. Yeah. So what it represented was us being able to get a sense of self outside of the colonial boundaries that were created for us. That's what it represented. Yeah. Like I said, then now man start to read Bible, remembering that Jamaica is a Christian, is full of Africans who are Christianized. So in order to validate what I'm saying to my mother, my father, my sister, my brother, they have to see it in the Bible. Because we've been given this Bible, and it's not only our religious book. People at the time saw the Bible as real history. Yeah, you couldn't question the historicity of the Bible in the 1930s. Yeah, wasn't done. Yeah, so in order to validate the thing, and you could easily do it. Why? Because of the titles of Haile Selassie. The titles of Haile Selassie, the things like King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Conqueror Lion of the Tribe of Judah. Yeah, Elect of God, elected. You can find all of these titles in the Bible, throughout the Bible, particularly in Revelation. Yeah, so if I'm in a debate with you, and I want to win the debate, I'm going to say, look, see it here, it's there in the Bible. The man named King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Conqueror Lion of the Tribe of Judah. Yeah? Now, I don't completely dismiss that experience, because it's a real one, and maybe the brother, the elders and the ancients and the people that founded the ideals maybe would not have survived properly, fully, yeah? Because there was a lot of attack against Rastafari. And maybe part of how they survived was being able to validate what they were saying by this book that everybody so thoroughly respected, yeah? But I'm at a point, and because of my upbringing, whereby, because I've never dealt with the Bible, I don't need it. So I don't validate anything that I deal with through Bible, Quran, Torah, nothing. I'm not interested in whether we can be found in it. I'm not interested in whether we can be whether we're the original Hebrew Israelites or the original Arabs. I'm not interested. Yeah, and we may be. I'm not saying that we're not, you know, but I'm saying that what is indigenous to us is what I'm focused on. I'm not preoccupied with the Abrahamic line.
So what do you do for Oshun?
What do I do for Oshun? In August, yeah, we called him out Messiah, yeah, after Marcus Messiah Garvey. I was at an Oshun ceremony.
Where?
In somewhere in South London. But we went to a river, you know what I'm saying? You know, drumming and
really?
yeah, singing you know, praise songs to Oshun, and we created our offerings on trays, you know what I'm saying? Different things, wow. You know, mirrors and coconuts and, you know, spring water and them kind of things there, you know what I mean? So yeah, you know, so I've taken part in various ritual ceremonies, Ogun and Oshun mainly. Those are the ones that over here people tend to be focused on.
Some of those, what was the word you used? Ceremonies.
Yes.
Some of them are quite diabolical.
Why you say that?
Because of stuff that I took part in when I was a kid and when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
Which all I will say is it was in Ogun State,
okay.
Belkuta. It was off the beaten track into the bush to a shrine.
Yes.
There were deities.
Yes.
Some were made of wood, some were made of metal.
Now let me ask you this: was the deity made of metal, or was an artifact made to represent the deity?
An artifact was made to represent the deity.
Right. Okay. Cool.
And
I'm asking that because people believe. Well, go on. Yes, Jedi. Yeah. Right. Yeah. What's it called?
The ceremony was in Yoruba.
Yeah.
And things were said, things were done, which I had to take part in.
Yeah.
And
which you're not going to talk about, Carol?
Yeah, because it's like a horror story.
But so you say diabolical?
Yeah.
Because I've always found the tradition beautiful and powerful.
That particular ritual I took part in.
Okay. Well, I think there are many that would argue that there are
fire
many...
upon the voodoo, man. Fire upon your
voodoo, Mr.
Your black magic
voodoo,
and your
Mr. More voodoo. Yeah. We say, well, I'm read more Bible, yeah?
No, not that at all. Not that. Now, embrace your natural thing, but I do think there's a fine line between engaging in authentic ceremonies and then dabbling in the occult and spiritism and stuff like
so you say you bond the occult?
I can't say I bond the whole occult because I don't know the whole occult, but I would say practice caution, exercise caution, and I would say
I would agree with that though.
Whatever our people were using, and spirit-wise, and information-wise, science-wise, at some point I would say there's evidence to say that this thing is probably backfired on man. Especially when we know that the leaders today are using the same type of science.
Explain the evidence.
I would just say like the state of our people, innit, yeah?
Right.
And I would just say the state of our people.
So what if I said that the state of our people is more a reflection on the fact that we've turned our back on our indigenous spirituality more than we've embraced it?
I would say that you'd have a valid point, and it'd be one I'm willing to hear more about.
That's a good point.
Get me? I definitely fuck with that.
Yeah.
But my main thing is this: I feel like we romanticize anything that we done originally. Yeah. We romanticize it, and I think we need to stay away from that.
I'd agree, because we're born romantic, so we don't want to do the romance, you know what I mean? But I think that's natural in the sense of the fact that because it's been so heavily demonized, when we rediscover it, it's like you all you want to do is learn about it. You don't want to question it. We've been indoctrinated into everything other than that spiritual science for a long time. So it's like, this is what people say, like people romanticize Africa, and I get it. Like we don't want to do that especially because of the condition of the continent at the moment. Yeah. All right, bro.
You ain't showing graphic thing, are you?
Proper graphic, like man.
Yo, whoa.
That's
what is that, bro?
That's why I have to ask. Because
is that what you experienced?
I mean, not saying more.
Who is that? Where can I find that video?
Right.
Levels to the thing.
Where can I find that video?
Can I say it? Can I say it?
No. You're not being Catholic now. Don't cover the truth. Where can I find that?
It's not covering the truth.
That video was sent to me by a relative in Nigeria. So I didn't actually go to a website. They sent it to me on WhatsApp.
Oh, okay, directly.
But this is the thing, yeah. right? Because I'm listen.
The fuck?
Guy, it was a lot. Man just threw for something different, like I don't know why.
Nah, but is it different though?
Yeah, it is different.
Why is it different?
Right, this is my thing, and I'm protective because I know that most people. It's like if I say Christianity, a lot of wickedness has been done in the name of Christianity. I'm not. But when I say Christianity, most people don't think of the wickedness that's been done in the name of Christianity. Yeah, so I'm not saying that there are not people that in
Me and Raven do. Raven speaking, I do. Yeah, but I do.
But most people don't.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to deny that things have happened in the name of. I'm not going to deny that people have perverted African traditional spiritual systems. I'm not going to deny that. Yeah, okay. That's the reality.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Why do you say perverted? Are you sure of what the original state was?
Am I sure? Put it this way: as much as I have engaged in, studied, researched, and practiced, suggests to me that is not like the
I could
original
agree
thing.
with that still.
Right?
And I think this is what the problem is.
Right.
We have a version of what our ancestors did.
Right.
Yeah, and we are assuming that this is the whole of how they practiced it. And I believe there's some aspects to what we may attribute to our ancient orders, which actually, when we look down, may not be.
Are we allowed to refine? As a culture,
refine?
Are we allowed to refine?
That's my thing. Let's say that's the case. Yeah, all spiritual practices evolve over time.
Yeah.
The difference is most spiritual practices on the planet have a level of continuity, so whereby they're able to evolve, their own thing. You know what I'm saying? Like organically. A lot of us, I would argue that none of us were able to do that as African people. Yeah, even those of us on the continent had what we were dealing with interacted and impacted by colonialism. Yeah. Not to say that there are not pockets of it where it's indigenous.
Yeah, because even when you look in Haiti, you see the influence that the Abrahamic faith has
had on the team. Right? But I'm saying on the continent, for example, like people, there are I know people for like for example, when I went to Ghana, my brethren who's Ga was showing me around Accra, and if you don't know the signs, you would think that like the whole of Accra is this pure white Jesus and whatever. But he was showing me the signs to pick up what you call Wolomo or Wolome, which are terms for the spiritual leaders, in the Ga, among the Ga people, So this is things like when you see a tree painted white, look at things like that. And he was giving me the history of the Ga people, and he was saying when the Europeans came, we never had no kings, all we had was our spiritual leaders. They were the ones who organized the community. But when the English came and the Dutch came, they wanted to speak to a king. So it's like the people them set up a king in order to speak to the British. Now the Ga have kings and that kind of thing to this day, right? So it's like not a lot of our spiritual practices or our communities have been affected by this process of colonization.
I would say just on my final thought before I go partake in my own libation.
You like
But what I would say is, I think our main issue is we think there's a time period from when our shit got contaminated. And what I would say is, before our shit got contaminated by the obvious, internally we had.
But I'd agree with that.
This is what that was the gateway to allowing this.
I agree with that. People have practice, right? And we say, are the practice working? Are they not working?
That's it.
You know what I mean?
Get me?
So if you show me something where someone's doing some obscene thing, I'm like, what is happening? What's the value of this?
And we're allowed to evolve our culture and spirituality. There's a book here, one of my favorite books in the world. It's a novel, but it's very historically based. By a guy called Aye Kriyama. It's called 2000 Seasons. And he exactly what he just talked about. He deals with that. He talks about the fragmentations between us. That even allowed for them to come and dominate us in the first place.
The weakness in the link.
You see what I'm saying, right? So I don't deny that. It's just that a lot of what we're seeing now that people are calling tradition may not actually be tradition.
This is what I'm saying.
But it's through the practice of it and the involvement in it that we're going to refine it as what Raven is saying.
Okay, well, I reserve my judgment on that. Because I think that's a whole different subject on its own.
But how you're thinking is valuable. I push forward.
Thank you.
To always criticize and critique and wonder what is the value of this. Do you know what I mean? And can it be?
But
I will be back, guys.
Yeah,
I will
do
be
your
back.
thing. Sacramental rudiments, I forgot. You know what I mean? Yeah.
All right. Shall we start our corner then now?
Yeah, when you're ready. Oh, are the rest of the man?
Well, I told him he'll jump in when we come, but
she is on the Shia, yeah.
So basically, this is our corner now, all right? And brother, there's a topic that you might be able to jump into, right?
Content over everything from your melody. Man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV.
So the two topics we're going to cover today is how black people are represented in the media, yeah? And you mentioned something earlier. And what was the second one? What to teach, the skills to teach the next generation, yeah? So which one should we start first?
Let's start with the media and end with practical.
Yeah, okay. So how are black people represented in the media? Anyone jump in?
Stereotypes, caricatures.
Right.
They're not